Hey everyone, my name is Jody and I'm coming to you in my YouTube page to talk about network marketing and what I have learned in my journey. And my name is, of course, Jody Collins, and I have learned a lot in my journey, and I've learned from what I consider some of the best in the business. Eric Worre, Jeff Out Gilbers, Robert Kiyosaki, Dave Daughtry, Richard Branson. All of these are great entrepreneurs, and they have taught me a lot. And in this journey, in part one, we discussed how to handle objections and how to handle questions effectively. And in any business, it doesn't matter what business you are in, you're going to get questions and you're going to get objections. And if you can take those and turn them into a positive for you, then what you're doing is you're continuing to engage. And that is what you want. You want to keep the lines of communication open. And the more you can keep the lines of communication open, then the more effective you can be at handling these effectively and closing your gap, because you want to have a bridge between you and your customer. So in part one, what we discussed was the feel, felt, and found way that Eric Worre has. He talks about if someone brings up an objection, then you can respond with, I felt that way too, but I understand how you feel. So here is what I found helped me. So that kind of gets them on the same page as you. That helps them to open up, and they don't feel like you're putting on superior airs and trying to be a know-it-all. That gets you more on their level. And if you don't have that same level, maybe you don't understand how they feel because maybe it's a doctor or it's in a profession that you are not currently in or don't have experience in, then you can use a third-party source. When you can say, I can understand how you felt because here's what this person found. Of course, always ask permission with using a third-party source, but that would be a great value, and that will help you to be able to talk to them. So today we're going to finish this discussion talking about how to handle questions and objections using the Eric Worre method of Network Marketing Go Pro. He said that most questions and objections fall into one of two categories. One is either your prospect has limiting beliefs in their own abilities, which means they aren't sure that they can be successful, or they have limiting beliefs in network marketing. So either way, it is a limiting belief. So they aren't sure that maybe that network marketing can help them reach or achieve their goals in life. So when someone says that I don't have the money, I don't have the time, or maybe I'm not even a salesperson, or I'm too old, young, tall, short, whatever it is, then that person has a limiting belief in themselves. They have a limiting belief in their own ability. And there are ways to help them see that they can be effective in this business and that they can do it. So when a person says, I don't have the money right now, you can respond with something that says, I had the exact same challenge when I started. I didn't have the money to pay my bills, let alone start a new business. But when I thought about it, I realized if I didn't have enough money to pay my bills now, how was I ever going to change that into the future? So, see, help them to reason on things. Help them to reason, because maybe they're not thinking about it that way. You can explain it to them, I was always tired of being behind. I was tired of being behind on my bills. I was always tired of scrambling and trying to pay the bills and it never being enough. I wanted more out of my life. And then you can say, you know what I finally did? I found a way. I found a way, and it was the best decision I ever made. And let me ask you something. If you really felt that this was a chance for you to take control of your financial future, do you think that you might find a way to make this happen? 9 times out of 10, they're going to agree with you. They're going to say yes. Because, see, then you're helping them to look at the future. Because if they say something like, well, I just don't have the money. Well, I feel that same way too. And when I first started, I didn't have the money. So how did you fix that? Okay, well then you go to the next step in the conversation. So forget the exact words. Don't copy the exact words. In fact, focus on the concept. Get them on the same level. Tell them that you are the same way, with the same objections. And then tell them about your pain. Tell them that you found a way to solve that pain. And then this will help you to relate to each other. And that way, you're on the same level. You're crossing that bridge of communication. And if you don't have a personal story that compares with theirs, tell them another person's story. Tell them someone else's story. Always get permission to use that person's story. But there are plenty of stories inside your company that you can get that will help you to relate and help them to relate to virtually any situation that there is known to man. Single mom, single dad, broke, out of work, you've had your house repossessed. There is literally story upon story upon story. All you have to do is look in your company and you will find that story. So when a prospect tells you their objection, you can say, I know what you mean. I have a friend who had that very same problem. And let me tell you their story. That way they can see a solution to their problem. So can you see how this approach would work with their objections based on the person's limited belief in themselves and in their own life? That way the concept is simple, it is proven, and the results then are amazing. So what do you do when someone has a limited belief in network marketing? What do you do when someone says something like this, like, is this MLM? Or they say something like, is this one of those schemes? Or is this a pyramid scheme? Or I'm not interested in MLM. When someone says something like that, then what do you do? Okay, so my suggestion is, instead of running away, or worse yet, saying something like pyramid scheme, like every other corporation in the world, don't say something like that. Instead of saying something like, you mean like the government? You mean like that? Like that is a pyramid? You don't want to say something. Understand where their questions and their objections are coming from. So don't be put off by their objection. Okay? Don't respond back with something else negative like that. Instead, when they say something like that, usually they have either joined in the past and have had no success, or they know a friend or family member who that has happened to. They have joined and they had no success. So don't be put off by them saying that. Instead, if they ask this kind of a question, ask them a question. Say, wait a minute, tell me your story. Tell me what happened. Be personally involved in them. Ask them what's happening. Ask them, say, were you involved in network marketing? And what happened? Get them opening up to you. Get them talking to you about the situation. And then that way it gets them to lower their defenses. And it allows you to ask questions. And that way you can really gain insight into what has happened to them. Suppose it was a family member who maybe joined a network marketing company and then didn't become successful, or they didn't actually make it. Sometimes when they ask and they don't have the emotion behind it, you can just say, yes, this is network marketing. You know, do you know anything about it? Perhaps they don't. Perhaps they've just heard a lot of people talk about it, and then they don't want anything to do with it because they have a lot of misconceptions. So you need to ask questions, and then through that process, you can achieve your goal of educating them and also understanding where they are coming from, because that's really important. You're not looking at them as a dollar sign. You're looking at them as a person. So in order to talk to people, you have to understand where they're coming from, what is going on in their mind. And the only way to do that is to open up and ask questions. Ask insightful questions. Another question that sometimes comes up is, how much are you making? You know, because people always want to know, how much is you're making? So if you're making money already, this is a great question. But what if you're not? Then your answer depends also, number one, on how long you've been involved in network marketing, how much effort that you have put into it. So how much time you're putting into it. You see, all those things, you know, if you've been around a while and you're still not making big money, you can tell them the truth that, you know, you haven't really, maybe you haven't been putting it in full time. Maybe you've only been doing it part time. Maybe you haven't been putting in a whole lot of consistent effort. So there's a lot of variables. Be honest with people. Don't hype it. Don't lie to them. You want to be open and you want to be honest about it. I mean, they're going to follow you. So if you are not completely upfront with them, then they're not going to trust you. And you want to build that trust. So if you hype something up and say, oh, yeah, I make tons of money, and you're not, they will find out. And then they will be like, okay, so obviously you can't be trusted. See, and then you've blown everything. And everything that is you've benefited from with them. You've just blown it right there. So always be open. Just tell them, well, I've only been in it, working at it part-time, or I haven't been very consistent in it, but I am working on it now. And that's why I reached out to you. So, you know, try to be open and honest about it. And it's important to look at questions and objections from your prospect as a gift. And I know that's kind of hard to do because you're like, but it puts me on edge. Okay, without them, you don't really know what's going on in their mind. So look at it as if they're giving you a gift. If they're giving you an objection, don't look at it as something that like they're throwing something at you. Actually, they're just explaining their feelings. So get them to open up about those. You need to even tease them out of them. Like if they're resisting and they just come out and say, you know, I don't know if this is for me. Well, then ask them, how come? How come this isn't for you? And if they say, then I don't know, well, you'd ask them, say, well, you know, there has to be a good reason. You obviously have a good reason. So get them talking. Get them opening up about what's going on in their mind. If they're not giving you an answer and they're being super genetic, find out what's going on. Try to get them talking. Remember, the object is the opportunity to educate them, to get them talking, to get them opening up, to build that trust, that bridge of trust. Another key factor is finding out what the real objection is, because sometimes they'll blow you off with an objection, and that isn't really their objection. They're just trying to push you away. So if you could ask them, say, is there anything else? Is there any other reasons? And then if they say no, that's pretty much it, then you might try to wait and find out what really is going on. But if they continue to push you away, don't push back. Don't continue to harass them, because you don't want to antagonize them. We aren't in the business of forcing anyone to do anything. So if they continue to generically just push you away, then don't force it. Let them go. Wish them the best, and then ask them, say, would you mind if I check back with you later? Because circumstances in life change. And most times people will say yes. Sometimes they won't. But so a lot of times they'll say yes. And so then I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks later, check back with them and say, hey, just wanted to stop by and say hi. How are you doing? Don't push the business. Don't push sending them a video. Don't push sending them something. Just check on them as a person. Because I know someone who did that, and literally he kept up a friendship with someone. Oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And then that guy lost his job and reached out to the guy and was like, hey, you know that thing you sent me a long time ago? Are you still in that? And are you still doing that? Because, you know, I lost my job and I was just thinking I might give it a shot. So you never know. Don't be pushy. Don't be antagonistic. You know, remember that there is not always going to be a fit in your business. And that's okay. Not everybody is fit for this business. Not everybody can do this business. So you want to make sure that the people that you're reaching and the people that you're talking to are a fit for your business. Because, you know, it's like not everybody's cut out to be a doctor. So we know that a lot of times it's just not going to happen and it's not a good fit, and that's okay. But use this opportunity to have a real conversation. Be present when you're talking to that person. Don't be distracted. Don't be, you know, holding 3 or 4 conversations down. Stick to that person. Really try to build that trust. Get them to open up. If at all possible, try to get them to open up. And as always, don't look at an objection and freak out and go, oh my goodness, no, I can't handle that. Because it's not about you. It's about them. It's about giving them the opportunity to open up, to discuss things with you, and, you know, really take that time to find out what that person is thinking. Because you may be thinking that it's an objection, and really and truly, it may not be an objection. It may be the fact that they just don't believe in themselves. So you always want to make sure that what you're doing is literally what they're thinking. Go with what they're thinking. And that's one of the biggest things in handling objections and handling questions like a professional. I hope you enjoyed this. As always, share, and I hope this has been beneficial to you. Thank you.